let's start by talking about the big shift. What's the 5% or the block that you found that you were here to overcome, even if you didn't know it when you first came in the work? Because everyone's nervous when they first come in, right? Let's start with Deb. And women, panel members, you're welcome just to open your mics and chat across to each other. That's fine. Deb, go ahead.
It's a real privilege to be here with all of you today. I really feel it's an honor to be asked. Thank you, Callie, and to share wisdom and growth. So for me, what I knew is that I'm really good behind the scenes building multi-million-dollar businesses. Like, the business carries itself and it's infused with everything that I stand for in the world. But what I'm not good at is really being the one that's seen, like truly being the one that's seen. And I have failed at nothing in business, but what I've failed at consistently is creating something where I'm really the spokesperson for my movement. Will be called Millionaires in the Making, like working with women that have this intention and aspiration that are deeply caring and connected to their businesses in a sacred way where they know that their product and services makes a huge difference in the world. So for me was one of my major traumas was from childhood, where I got up on stage and it was the only thing my alcoholic and drug-induced mother showed up for. And I had the lead and I completely forgot all my lines. So it was this humiliation that I have carried with me. So it's a fear. It's not just overcoming visibility, but it's like, holy shit, that is my trauma. So what I was going to do a TED Talk teaching, looked at a few of those, and I always look for sacred, holy, God-driven teachers. And Callie and Kristen and, Ethan, they're that for us, because you want to be deeply aligned with your source, because that's what I do is I source people. Like, God sources me, and I just know there's people ordained to work with me, and they're the ones that I'm like the fire or the air under their wings. The second thing that I got that it was a shock, hold on, ladies, was I had never had an orgasm. Like, I hadn't had an orgasm. I didn't even know what Kundalini was. And the two gals that are in my pod, I was like, what the hell was that? Like, it felt like the bed was, shaking, and I was going to blast through the ceiling of and my boyfriend's very happy with all this. It's going. So it's the feminine, it's this energy that's being released, and this true expression of my power, my femininity, the natural gifts that God gave me, my brilliance around my natural ability for business. I'm not trained, I didn't go to college. I didn't have any support in that area. It's just a real gift that I was given this lifetime. So this work is, in the stage work, is so transformative and growth oriented that, there's so many things I've done in the world, but there's been nothing like this, where you can have this group of women, this powerful experience, and a chance to really be your truest self.
Thank you so much, Deb. Yeah, powerful. Wow. Really amazing. Yeah, we can be so accomplished and still not really stepping into it, but there's this piece. I love your share. Let's go to Kirei. 5%.
Hello, ladies. It is absolutely lovely to sit back and listen to your introductions and be part of this group again. It's been a while, and it's been a year since I stepped on stage, live stage in Calgary, which was absolutely a magnificent experience that Callie curated for all of us. And we created together as a group. Gosh, there's just so much, hearing your intros and the embodiment, the recognition of the embodiment. For myself, one of my big breakthroughs was realizing that even as a career athlete, I was a professional athlete into my mid-40s, I still was disembodied. I was disconnected to my body, and my head walked around, bossing my body around, not paying attention to any of the signs and signals. And that's very much an athlete's journey. I've since realized. So that was a big breakthrough for me. My 5% block, in some ways, it doesn't seem that grandiose, but really, and as I'm going back to it, I recall being in denial. I didn't want it to be just this. It's that sense of my own worth and visibility. How could it be so simple? I've spent so many years and decades working on this, but truly, it was my ability to show up in groups or in a dyad, in conversation with people. And when things got difficult or uncomfortable, this deeply ingrained pattern of avoiding and making it all nice. And that became one of my huge goals, achieved, check, in this in my process with Bold and Visible, was to be able to stand in those difficult, uncomfortable conversations. Boy, there's been lots of opportunity these last 3 years, and stay with it, and stay with myself, and be able to represent myself and be visible and worthy within those scenarios. Because underpinning that really was the issue, was not being able to presence myself, not being able to make people uncomfortable, not being able to bear that. Wow, it's changed my life, because, most people really do want that level of truth. And the people that I want to be with want that level of truth and realness. So that was my big breakthrough. I can relate to so much of what you've shared this morning, just thinking of my own capacity to surrender to spirit, my connection with God and spirit, and my ability to manifest as a result. Yesterday I had an experience where I literally left that person, and the last words in the conversation was, "It's absolutely everything that I've wanted." And somehow that came to me completely out of the blue, unexpected, yesterday. More details to come. And I guess one thing I wanted to share, as I'm in the process of really systematizing my own business. I'm actually here today in Kelowna, Canada, which is a lovely little lake city, beautiful area. And we're closing the deal to sell one of our studios tomorrow. I'm selling it to one of my oldest employees, who has had the dream and shared with me of owning a studio. So I'm actually feeling just so blessed to be able to pass on leadership to another leader who I know will create more leaders. And I think ultimately that is one of the goals of leadership. We are a room full of leaders here. And what we want to do is create more leaders, because we need this leadership. So I'm feeling incredibly blessed by this time in my life. And as I systematize my business back home, I have 2 more boutique studios, and bringing all this change into my business. Again, standing in those sometimes uncomfortable conversations with my team, with my clients, and bringing that forward, feeling really a new level of my own leadership capacity. I think that's my check-in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kirei. Check in complete. Check. Yeah, beautiful. Let's go to Claire. It's so I just want everyone to know this is like my inner circle, right? We all have that. We all have that. We all need that. We all need women up under us. And these women have been inside this process and have such a big game to play, just like each of you. So powerful. Go ahead, Claire.
Hi, ladies. It's wonderful to be here with you today, and lovely to see Stella and Deb and Kirei. Lovely to see you, Kirei. You know, when I listen to all of you, I can't help but get emotional because it's having gone through the journey and being on the other side of it. It's just like, wow. I often just go, wow, how did this happen? And it happened because I showed up and did the work. And I allowed myself to keep going, even when I didn't want to keep going. I know Callie wants us to talk about that 5% shift. And when I think of that last 5% shift for me, I mean, as you were talking, I was thinking I spent my whole life putting a square peg in a round hole. I was always pushing myself into trying to be something I thought you wanted me to be. And I turned into being a great number 2. I am a great supportive person. I can support anyone to shine. And everyone saw me as a leader. You know, Claire, I got to the top of my career and, oh, Claire, why don't you apply for this? And it was like, well, no, I know my place. And there'd be an occasion where I was put on the spot with having to be in a leadership, and I self-destructed it. I destroyed it. I didn't destroy it. It just got messy. And I was aware that that's because of my participation. I was not willing to take that extra step, to step up. Even though I know inside of myself, I've always felt I was meant for either the stage. Seriously, as a little girl, I wanted to be an actress on the stage or a singer. That's all. And I had these great visions, and I could never quite get there. So I lived the life I lived. So I come into Bold and Visible, and my intention, I can't even remember what it was, but to some degree, it's not important now, because what's important now is who I am now. But what I discovered through going through the program is that there was a wall of shame I was still carrying around inside of me, with 38 years clean and sober, with being at that point, I don't know, 71 years of age, and I didn't know I was carrying it. Because part of my story is talking about my addiction to alcohol and how I stopped it. And I thought, I can't talk about that. No, we don't talk about that. And I realized that I have been clean and sober for so long that everybody in my life today only knows me, who I am today. They don't know that person back there. And I thought, well, if I say that, they're going to meet that person back there. So I have to keep her in hiding. She's we put her there. And by the grace of God and through Callie's coaching and for Kirsten and Stacey and everyone, I was able to walk through that. It wasn't easy. But when I walked through it, I realized there's no shame. Every experience I've had throughout my life has made me who I am today. And I was so focused on this quote unquote addiction. Yet what I have discovered today is that's only a part of who I am. I am so much bigger than that aspect of my personality. And it has given me a freedom within my being I had never experienced before. One of the benefits of being in the program is I somehow managed to bring in parts of myself that were scattered all over the place, energetic parts of myself. And I feel like I've come home to myself in a very different way. And it's quite remarkable. Yet it's just, well, of course, Well, of course you come home to yourself. It just seems to be the most natural thing to be, but it's been quite a journey. And that is also the mystery and the magic and the awesomeness of it. Because now I get to pass all that on through the work I do. And because I worked at C-suite in the corporate world, I had the ability to work. I could one day I could be. I lived in Los Angeles for 30 years, so I worked a lot in downtown Skid Row in Los Angeles, and then in the evening I'd be putting a fancy, swanky event on at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills. I had the ability to cross both. You know, it's just a place to go. But within all that, who am I? And I realized that for years, I was a chameleon of how you wanted me to be. But now I'm just me. I fit in, I belong everywhere. I belong nowhere and I belong everywhere. I'm part of this universe. I don't need to impress anyone. I don't need to pretend I'm something that I'm not. I just need to be me. And it's that simple and it's that darn challenging to be me. Because I fought my whole life to be somebody other than I thought I was, because of the messages I got. And I really contributed to allowing myself to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And even the times when I wanted to give up and go, how can Callie say that to me? And one thing in particular, I'll share this if I may.
Yeah.
I had a habit. Callie pointed out a habit I had, and I didn't know I had that habit until she pointed it out, and I was deeply insulted at first. and the habit was, Claire, if I can remember it correctly, and I'm paraphrasing here, but if I say something that may be a little bit disparaging about myself, I'll laugh afterwards. But what I didn't know what I was doing was devaluing myself in that moment. I was literally just putting myself down. And it was like, how dare she say that to me? Doesn't she know who I am? Yes, she does know who I am. And but I didn't know who I was. And it's like, wow, isn't that fascinating? So I'm so grateful because today I can look at it and go, well, maybe there's something there I need to look at. Maybe there's some validity there. And what I do now is I have recently gone from being, quote unquote, a sole trader to forming a limited company because I have become an adult. And I think that's one of the biggest shifts that's happening. I've gone from being a little girl looking for somebody to take care of me to being an adult. And somebody recently said to me, they said, Claire, you know, people see you as this lovely older person who's retired and who's done very well for themselves. They don't see you as the businesswoman. You need to shift your energy. And it was like, well, isn't that, again, I was in, and I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Do you know what? They were right. So it's this constant evolvement, constant unfolding, constant discovery. And as a result of that, I'm showing up differently. I have different things coming into my life. I was recently whisked off in helicopters and all that stuff to work with a very prominent individual from Saudi Arabia. And it's like, yeah, this is who I am. I know who I am today. And what a joy that is. So I'm so excited for each and every one of you because miracles happen when we least expect it. And as already has been shared with Kirei and Deb, there's a presence in our lives that wants us to shine and glow and has our back. And I need that's the support I need to hold on to the most. Because I have a loving God in my life who's just smiling broadly now. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, so good, Claire. So awesome. Like each of these women, like Claire, you know how many women have come into this body of work because of Claire? The women because of Kirei, Deb, they see the shifts and they're like, I don't know what happened because we just land comfortable in our own skin, aligned, and more we open and open. You're so beautiful and radiant. And right, just being who you are in the world is calling forward. It's that you're so comfortable and safe. And I just love it when you're here and you're such a leader in our community. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel so blessed to be part of this community. It's been a huge gift to me.
Yeah. And us.
And this is something else. Only good things happen in my life today.
Yeah.
If I can see that they're gifts.
Yeah.
Some things don't look like a gift at first.
Yeah.
But if I can take the time to gradually unpack it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I see the gift.
Love it, Claire. We're going to go to Stella, and then I'd really love to have a conversation about the depth we go to and why was your story important. So we'll go to Stella first, and then we'll open that because it really, we're inside of the work like that we did with Claire around the little habit pattern she had in her voice. We release the last bits of somatic block. We land in our body. We land in our story. When you know your story, you know your value in your bones. When we get on stage with our story, I mean, Stella, I cannot wait for you, baby, to get on our physical stage, because it's a threshold that the cat's out of the bag. You are out in the world with momentum. And so I really want to talk about that for you guys, so that we make sure we get that question in, do a quick Q&A, and then we'll close it up. It's just an honor to have you, beautiful women, high-level women. Love it. Stella, go ahead.
Hi, Callie. Hello, ladies. Can you hear me okay? I haven't got a mic on. Is that all right? Yeah, that's okay. So, gosh, my 5%, well, if I'm perfectly honest, I didn't really know what it was. I just had this real sense that something was in the way. And where I was I would have this real success with groups that I ran and have this ability to hold the large groups and to really inspire and motivate women to step forward and to go deeper and to all of the work that, is so, so important at this time. And yet, just as it was about to go pop, I'd stop. It was like literally I would go so far and then I would stop. It was like, yeah, that's great, that's fine, what have you. And then I knew Claire and had witnessed Claire going through the program, and I knew another one of the ladies, Kirei from Paris, and had seen the changes in them. So I thought, you know what, you've got to get your big girl pants on and find out what is going on for you, because this is not good. And it was almost as if the potential that I could feel in the field for myself terrified me. Absolutely scared the bejesus out of me in some way. It was like I could feel it. I could really, really almost see it. It was tangible in the field, but it also scared me. And so that was why I came into the group, because I'd seen women that had gone before. And, I wanted a bit of it. I wanted to really have the opportunity to dig deeper and to find out what it was. And when I found out what it was, it just completely bemused me, because I had never even thought of this incident that happened that I share in my story. I'd never even considered it as being something significant. And yet it was where it all started. It really was where it all started. And I think that's the power of this experience, going right into the somatics and allowing things to open up. But what I do want to say, and I'm not going to keep you long because I know that everyone's busy, is about the way that Callie has an ability to spot what you don't spot and to name it in such a way that you can't but take ownership of it. You have to take ownership of it. I don't know about 6th sense. I think you must have a 9th or 10th sense, Callie, because I'm very intuitive. I know a lot about myself. I see it in everybody else, but sometimes when we're leaders ourselves, we just need somebody else that can see it for us.
Mm.
And that was one of the biggest things that I got from being part of this group and this community. So, as I said, I won't go on. I'll jump off and I'll let you do what you want to do next, Callie, but I hope that helps.
It's so great, Stella. Thank you so much. And I love it that, one of the things, so let's segue with you right into just really quickly, you guys, let's just talk about story, because you're part of your transformation right in the middle of your story. Right. And that's just so amazing to me. Can you just share for us? And I know, so you're still going to have the physical story experience, but the sourcing and the releasing of that within your story, and then crafting and embodying your story. Like, can you share what was important to you about that?
Yeah. Yeah, gladly. First of all, it was the surprise, the shock. I never thought I had a story. I think we all do that when we come in. Never for a minute thought I had a story. I've got nothing interesting to say or anything that anybody would be interested in. And actually sort of finding that there were these threads that joined together that I could create, that I could step into the story for, was mind-boggling to me, that there was even anything that anybody would be half interested in listening to there. But I think I shared with you at the time, the biggest thing for me was not so much for me personally, because I have to say I witnessed all around me a lot of the things that you ladies have touched on and mentioned today. But because the nature of my work, as you said, we've done the 95%. So it's like really helping to be part of the group and hold space and observe. For me, it was the actual stepping forward and saying the story. I cannot tell you the release or the stuff that brought up for me. So it's almost like program's over, step forward, do your story. And thought that was all really nice. I enjoyed that experience. Said the story, holy moly. And has so much has come up since then as a result of that experience. It really is. So in some ways, I'm really excited about November. And in other ways, I'm like, good Lord, what's going to happen next? Because of the stepping forward and what have you. So yeah, really powerful.
I love that, because we're here, like you said, we're sort of existentially terrified of the larger thing we're here to do, because we're curated into this work. Like when you come, if you're even attracted to this work at all, it's because you feel that bigger thing. And it requires this level of exposure and risk, which actually we're safe to take, but we have to cultivate that. But it's so much bigger, and can we hold it? Right. And so, and there is another
absolutely.
level. Yeah, we're
absolutely true, Callie, honestly.
Right? Like Stella's holding a planetary shift.
Oh gosh, well, I think anyone stepping forward is holding them. I mean, you know what my thing is, Callie, it's that we're all here at this time because, we're the version of the soul that all the others have worked towards, that's my thing. And this ripple that's coming through for women is so profound, and whatever we can do to hold them in terms of the gifts that we have and support them in terms of the gifts that we have is part of that collective ripple that's needed, isn't it? It's such an important time to be here and to be getting our big pants on, really.
Getting our big
so
pants
important
on, right? And this is why this gift,
big girl pants,
right? This gift of being in our sovereignty, being powerfully bold, taking the risks without pushing, just comfortable to do it, and really owning. So the next level for you is definitely, but what's beyond that, much, much bigger, right? So we can hold and contain that, but we have to curate ourselves into it. And I just love that. I love that. Let's go to Deb, story for you.
Goodness. Well, I'd done so much work. I really didn't think that I would have the breakdowns that I had inside of creating my story, delivering my story. And I mean, I watched the replay, and the group gave me the longest amount of time out of anyone. It was so freaking loving and beautiful and healing for me. And Callie I was going to quit. I just couldn't. It was just too hard and too painful. And I can feel it now. But with the love of Callie and Kristen and the whole group, I could just feel their love. And Callie really prompted me to go on. And I feel if I didn't get that prompt from Callie, that I would have really gotten derailed at that point in my life as far as what I really am here to leave behind on the planet. So it's hard to explain. It's God, it's just so highly transformational. And I've done this kind of work before, but not where you have women supporting women. I think that's the added ingredient here that you won't find in other movements and growth-oriented experiences. And I agree with what everyone else has said here. It really is our time. The patriotic stance that has been on the world is really creating destruction in so many different ways. And it really is. I mean, we used to have power in the world. We used to be baroness and own lots of real estate and be the queens that we are, and we lost our crown somehow. So it's time to put it back on our head and polish it up and really stand powerfully in the gift that we're here. We're equal parts. So how did we become so tilted? How did that happen? So grateful for everyone here, and Callie and Kristen, and just the whole movement of Bold and Visible.
I love how you say crowns, right? And this is what we love to bring in sovereignty, and it is true. It's owning that jab. Oh my gosh, right? How many women do we hear wanted to quit? For sure, because it's the last ditch of our body and our sort of egoic sense of saying, oh shit, I'm not good at this or whatever. And actually on the other side, the opposite is true. Brilliant. But we just have to come through those last bits. The story takes you through the last bit. Cultivating, crafting, curating, stepping into your story is really that last bit. And then from there, I mean, in my body of work, I have a graduate program where I take women from their story into their designing their group program. That's my juju. My gift is helping them literally put butts in seats of their group programs. But we can't get there unless we get here. Yeah. And your story, oh my God, I can't wait for you all to hear it. Let's go to Kirei. I love it. It's called Penny Candy. I can say the title without giving it away. Penny Candy. Are you curious? Yeah, it's amazing. Kirei.
Oh boy, I was in big resistance about even having a story for a long time. Kelly really helped me through that. And my story is called A New Kind of Strength, and it refers to the strength of my lineage, thinking about my 94-year-old mother as I sit here. She's still driving and getting out. She lives in her own place. She still supports my brother, who has a mental illness quite a bit. And she is a strong woman. And I really think the breakthrough for me was this new kind of strength that had the surrender, had the softness. As I think about my life now and how it's changed since I've been on stage, I've actually connected with a massive level of support. Ironically, it's after your last comments, Stella and Deb, it is actually mostly a group of men, and I'm in a very masculine industry, strength training. These men are very evolved. They're very manly. They're strong. I mean, they're physically muscled, strong men. It's quite nice, really. So it was a little over a year ago, just as I was preparing for the stage, that I did really put a stake in the ground and say, my business was very devastated by the lockdowns here in Canada. They were quite severe. And it was an extremely painful process for me as a strong woman with a lot of sovereignty in my life. I'm involved in the fitness industry, which it gives me so much freedom. So to have lost those freedoms and that sovereignty was very, very challenging for me, watching my business lose so much revenue. And so just over a year ago, I really put a stake in the ground and I said, no, I am staying with this. I love what I do. I believe in it. I'm passionate about the strength training protocol and the power of that. And I connected with an incredible community of colleagues and a coach out of the UK who specializes in my kind of studio. And I have just renewed and up-leveled my enthusiasm, my belief, my passion for what I do, how important it is, and where I want my organization to go. And that is with the help of this peer group, this group of colleagues. So much of my strength through this program has changed from my own, I used to call it the lone wolf on the tundra. I was a leader. I was strong. I was literally breaking the sod. I've been a front runner type leader. I tend to break through new ways of seeing and doing things. So that's deep sense of aloneness. And obviously I experienced the collective and the community within the program, but now I've stepped into my greater world, and it's such a delight to actually sink in to this level of support within my new community, and where it's helping me take my business. You can't become yourself by yourself. And no matter how strong you are, and the true strength is really in that vulnerability and that being able to receive and accept support, to seek it, to ask for it, and then to receive it. That's been life-changing for me, truly life-changing.
I love it. I love it. And you got to go and watch Kirei's story on the YouTube channel, A New Kind of Strength. Yeah, I'm sure that Deb, you've probably watched Kirei's story through our process, because the stories come back around, and we use these delightful people, women who've been through, as sort of our guide. Amazing, Kirei. Yeah, just dropping into being strong and receiving was a whole radical shift through your story and on the stage. Powerful story, you guys, in letting that lead her life. Love that share. Thank you, Kirei. Let's go to Clare, and then you guys, we need to wrap up the panel. I'd love to wrap up after Clare with just because this is our last time together, and we need to do a closing of our circle, even though most of these women are coming back through our 12-week to go a little bit deeper with us. So some of you here will be going in there. We'll all be doing this together. This is going to be a really interesting experiment with really rich quality of levels to it. But I'd love you to let's go to Clare, and then I'd love you each to share just one last word for these women, for anyone who's considering, would I want to do this? Do I want to explore this further? Getting on the stage, doing the deep dive program. Go ahead, Clare. For you, story.
Oh, goodness, story. There's one thing I want to interject. Back in the early 90s, that's when I did my spiritual psychology training. And as in all trainings like that, it's predominantly females that are in the room. But I had a profound shift of how I perceived the masculine doing that work. Because when I would hear the men stand up and share from their heart, it absolutely, I literally had basically a paradigm shift in my own being of what men are challenged with. And ever since then, I have viewed the masculine in a different way. And with the shifts that have happened to me, and specifically through coming through Bold and Visible, with allowing me to own who I am at a softer, different place, has given me a greater capacity to absolutely love also working with men. And it's quite remarkable, because I really get to see we need to come together. We both need the healing.
Mhm.
And I absolutely love working with women, and I love working with men.
Mhm.
It's as if I can connect with something inside, and I just think, God, what a fabulous gift I've been given
Mm.
to have that shift, because they're very wounded as much as we're wounded, and we all need to heal. So,
Mhm.
but doing this work has allowed me to, as I said, soften my rougher edges. I really feel some rougher edges have been softened doing this work. And it's given me a greater level of empathy and compassion. And it's not, it was never was. Well, I guess at some point it was me against them because of how dare you do that to me, da 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 da. But I needed to get beyond that story, because it's not about separation. It's about the coming together. It's about the healing.
Beautiful. And Claire, what's one thing you would say to the women who might be considering diving into the deep waters?
Well, if you don't want to dive into the deep waters, you'd better get off this call right now. It's wonderful, because it's not until we take that step off the cliff that we're going. It's all there. It's taking that step, and there's nothing to fear except the thought of the fear itself. It's quite remarkable.
Thanks, Claire. Stella, how about you? So inside of, we're starting our, curation for our story stage program, which will start in the fall. And of course, everyone here, most of these women will be back in the 12-week to go deeper, but we're looking at toward the fall and coming into that deep story process. What would you say to them?
Well, I think that I think everybody on this call knows that there is change that's needed. And as women who are aware of that, to become that catalyst for change, we have to take self-responsibility. And when we know there's stuff going on for ourselves, to really find that safe environment with the right type of guidance and support around you, that will allow you to really expand into your potential in the way that's possible. And this community is certainly one of those containers, most definitely. And I'd be interested to see when it comes to the story side of things, the changes and the shifts that happen is quite remarkable. It might not be overnight, but there's definitely this, it starts something that is quite profound. I mean, I'm creating things that I would have shied away from a year ago. And it's all, it all just starts to come together, because I think it's that taking a stand for yourself, taking a stand for the expression of the soul that you came here to be, and doing it with the best way that you possibly can. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you, Stella. How about you, Deb?
I thought I answered that question. Is this a new question?
Oh, it's just what would you say to the women who might be thinking of coming in and getting into the story, into the depth of the VIP program?
Okay. Oh my goodness. Do it. Just plain old do it. It's going to scare you, and it should, because there's something that's in your way right now that's blocking you from the other side. And you have such an incredible, you already have a base, which we didn't come in with.
Right.
And so you're way ahead of the game. And your story is just going to be this incredible footprint or stamping of what's to come for you. I mean, just do it.
Love it. I love how you say that. That's like your business motto. Just do it. Kirei.
What I would say is, use the practices you've learned to become quiet with yourself and really be honest with yourself. Is this a yes? And trust that when you commit, the universe will conspire. The universe has your back. We all know that now, right? So I would even say, step out in nature and just be soft and quiet with yourself and ask yourself deeply, Is this community, is this process a yes for you? And then absolutely trust and just allow yourself, what did Clare say? Clare say, step off the cliff, just commit. And the power in that is, it's unfathomable.